Now, I know that Europe and a lot of countries inside of Europe have an amazing public transit system. I've watched a couple of different videos on it already, and it kind of blows my mind how many people actually use it and how efficient it is. Getting licenses, differences between the US and most European countries, as apparently it's pretty drastic. All right, so without further ado, let's rock and roll. Let's check some of these out.
Okay, so you completed the 200-hour course and you paid the €2,000 fee?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you took the 300 question written test, right? That consists of advanced technical terms and mechanics, the imaginary situations that never happen in real life, and of course the weird traffic signs that you will never find on the road.
Yep, sure did.
All right, so let's proceed with the skill exam.
Okay.
It will be just 50 very complicated maneuvers that even race car drivers are having a hard time with. And then we will drive in the city center for about 45 minutes in the rush hour. Okay, let's go. Okay. Unfortunately, you were 1 centimeter too close to the white line, so we have failed the test, but don't worry. For only €2,000, you can sign up for another 200-hour training, and we can schedule your exam for about 2 or 3 months from today.
Is it seriously €2,000 to get your license? That seems kind of crazy. I mean, I think it should cost money, but €2,000? That's nuts. I mean, I guess if you don't have a lot of money, you just can't even get a license. All right, let's keep going.
Bye.
Hey, what's going on? Are you ready for your driving test? Because we got to get this over with pretty quickly. I got to go get my Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, let's move the car forward a little bit.
Do you know how to do it?
I think you just put it on the D here. We're just going to go to the D. Now you're going to press the gas. Okay, I think it's the other one.
I think it's the other one.
Okay, I think we did well. I think we definitely passed on that one. Oh, we didn't die. All right, Mr. Chris, here's your driver's license. It looks like you were born to drive. It will be $5. You can pay with a check or a credit card.
Okay, it's definitely not $5. It's a little bit more than that. How many years has it been since I've paid for my license or taken a driving test? I don't know, 18 years? Pretty nuts. Let's check out the comments on this. And that's why US licenses are not recognized in EU. Okay, how do I drive though if I want to go to the EU? Do I have to like take an entire test to be able to get my license? There's got to be something that you can kind of transfer over. Traffic fatalities, 100K USA, 13.4, Finland, 3.3, but we all know USA hate any form of education. All right. It's hilarious. Pretty accurate in EU. I understand like having to take a bunch of tests. The video is a little messed up because we do have to have a permit. We have to do X amount of hours driving with driver's education. You do have to take a written test. You do have to take a driving test. It's not as easy as they make it sound in this video. I remember when I took mine when I was 16 years old. I was so nervous, and my driver, dude, literally didn't say anything the entire time. Just told me where to go and no tips, no nothing. I passed though. I think I just got like 2 or 3 wrong. Reason why European drivers are much better. Yeah, probably the extensive testing definitely is going to make you a better driver. You forgot the physical examination, eyesight test, intelligence test. Intelligence test. I understand eyesight test, intelligence test. Okay. Dutch CBR is the worst. We have 1,050 questions in Czech Republic. That seems excessive. 1,050 questions. I feel like some people are just not meant to drive though. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, first we're going to start you off on
Motorcycle
125cc. Then, with great behavior, we'll upgrade you to a 300. How does that sound? All right, look here, brother. If you can tell me the color of that right there stop sign, I'll give you the keys to this 100% American piss missile, the Suzuki Hayabusa.
Piss missile. Oh gosh. I'm sure the Hayabusa is 100% Japanese. That's what I was just laughing at. Comment, I consider most of Europe as smile and nod because no matter what laws their governments enact, everyone just smiles and nods along. Okay. Multi-layer joke. Impressive. Yeah, it was a little multi-layered. I remember the guy in my motorcycle class said he just got a Ducati 999 and then proceeded to barely pass the class on a scooter. Hey, driving motorcycles, I commend anyone who drives a motorcycle, like not a scooter. I have one of those. I mean, like a actual street bike, because those things are sketchy. I've ridden one time and I almost about shit my pants. I do want one though. I would love to drive a motorcycle on the daily. I just know my likelihood of death is going to go up substantially, so I don't do it.
Is this true, America? You measure distance by time. Nobody measures distance by miles.
As a matter of fact, it's very true. And to be honest, we do it as a favor for you because...
Yeah, measure distance by time, not by miles. Yeah, I'm not too sure exactly. You guys measure your distance by miles or kilometers?
Because we drive everywhere and miles don't always compute. So I've heard that people in the UK don't really drive like we do, but here in the United States, it is nothing for you to drive 3, 4, 5 hours in a day and then drive back either that same day or maybe even the next day. And to put some of this craziness in context, I'm going to show you some things about Texas that might just blow your mind. To start off with, if you were to drive from one end of the UK to the other, it would take you almost 15 hours. And I'd be willing to bet
that's a pretty
probably
long
not
time.
that common. People aren't doing that very often. If you drove from the east side of Texas to the west side of Texas, it would take you a little bit more than 11 hours.
Route.
But if you're traveling from the south of Texas all the way to the north of Texas, you're looking at almost 13 whole hours. And for some real context of how big Texas actually is, this is a picture posted over Europe, right next to the UK. And
Texas
boy,
is that
oh
big.
boy, we're talking about...
Why didn't they drag the Texas down a little farther so you could really get it? This is out in the ocean. Excuse me. All right, I got to check the comments on this. This should be funny. I drive 3 hours from Illinois to Iowa and 3 hours to come back on the same day. That's a lot of driving for even an American in a day. Usually most people don't drive more than like an hour to work, hour and a half. 3 hours each way every single day. That's nuts. In Houston at rush hour, you can go 10 miles, but it takes you 2 hours. It's all about the time. Yes, that is a great point, just like he said. That's why we measure stuff in time, because I know personally, if I were to go from my home to downtown Nashville, it may only be, I don't know, how far is it? Maybe 18 miles, 20 miles, 22 miles, somewhere in there. But I know just depending on when I'm going, if it's going to take an hour and a half or if it's going to take 40 minutes. It's usually somewhere in between there. All right. I've seen this girl before. She does a lot of good content.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I practiced with my dad's truck twice, so I got this.
All right. So, yeah, buckle up. And why don't you just make a left right here and just park. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
You passed.
All right. Well, you passed.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you passed. You did great.
Oh my god, I'm gonna tell my mom.
Yeah, you didn't hit anything. So, yeah, you passed.
You didn't hit anything.
Alright, you ready for this? You've taken 200 lessons, practical and theory.
Yes.
You have studied the rulebook, including the 27 subcategories of rechts vor links.
Yeah.
Alright, you will perform an emergency stop, you will parallel park in 5.3 seconds, and then you will merge into the Autobahn and will not drive less or more than 130 kilometers per hour. Got that?
Okay.
You make one mistake, you fail. Durchgefallen. You did not buckle up. You seriously think you can get your driver's license without anschnallen? I don't think so. That will be 200 lessons more. Will you pay in cash or card?
All right. You ready?
Wait, right there at the
Yeah,
end it said
practice with my dad's
3,000. Should she put that on there?
Yes,
She
Mom.
wrote, I don't think so. That would be 200 lessons more for 3,000 euros. Now it's 3,000 euros? Is that in Germany? Is that how much it is? What you guys pay for this is absolutely bonkers. $2,000 to $3,000. And if you fail, you have to pay it again. It might just be a joke. I don't know. Let's check the comments. It is not USA versus Germany. It is USA versus Europe. I don't know about that. So in America, they give out driver licenses like give out guns. No, it's actually easier to get a gun than it is a driver's license. This is why people in Europe can actually drive. Yeah, I don't know. I've never driven in Europe. People do drive like absolute garbage here in the States, though. Either way too slow, going in the fast lane at 40 miles per hour when you're supposed to be going 70, or driving around town. Just today when I was driving, I was like screaming in my car because somebody is just going at a snail's pace or going off the side of the road. People drive like crap. It drives me nuts. In Europe, we understand that a car can kill and you need training. Driving must be secure. That's why we don't allow Cybertruck and EU2. Driving must be secure. That's why we don't allow Cybertruck and EU2. What is the Cybertruck have? I'm confused. What does the Cybertruck have to do with anything? Do they have something in the car? I don't know. Honestly, though, you guys, how long do you think it is before we're not driving cars anymore? That all cars are just autopilot. I know they're already doing it in some here in the States. They're doing it in like LA, New York, where you'll get off a plane, order a car, and it'll pull up with no person in the driving seat, and it'll just take you wherever you need to go. I don't know. It's some type of magic. Yeah, it's so true, actually. Belgium, low-key the same. Poland, same. Oh, wow. Actually, I thought Poland would be a little bit more lenient. In Slovenia, the same. Okay, so it seems like this is kind of universal all the way around all the countries in Europe. All right, let's check this one out.
You know, you really don't realize how big America actually is until you come here. I've lived here for about 4 years now, so I'm used to it. But, oh my God. I live in Texas, right? I could drive 10 hours in a straight line and still be in Texas. For reference, the longest drive I've ever done in England was when I drove from London to Liverpool for a cross-country meet. And my mum stopped 4 times to piss in a 4.5 hour drive. I remember when I first got here. Bear in mind, the longest drive I'd done was 4.5 hours. I was here maybe a month, and I had to do a 10-hour drive to Alabama. And doing a drive...
I do a 4-hour drive probably once every 2 months. Where I live at in Tennessee, we go to East Tennessee to go just take a day away, with the family. And it's about 4 hours to get there. So we do it pretty consistently. We just did Kentucky, like northern Kentucky, 4 weeks ago, about a month ago. And it was about a 3.5 hour drive. So pretty common.
For that long for the first time was fucking rough. But once you've been here, you get used to it, man. Like, I've drove 9 hours to Florida from Texas multiple times. But if you tell anyone in England you're driving 9 hours, miss them with that. Miss them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if you can drive 9 hours in England and still be in England.
We just covered that. You can.
I'm pretty sure you'd get to Scotland by that point anyway. I don't know how far, Southampton is from Newcastle. I have to do my research, but yeah. That length of a drive in England?
Myth. Somebody says in the comments, 9-hour drive, we'd be in France. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Do you guys, when you go on holiday or you go visit a country, do you drive or usually just fly? Because driving is just so common and so much cheaper than flying. I've heard that the flights in European countries between the two can sometimes be really cheap. For us, under $100 cheap. That's unheard of. That's why we drive so much, because gas is, $3 a gallon. So it's much cheaper for us to take 5 people. I go vacation down in Florida and we drive, it's about 14 or 15 hours that we drive there and back each way. And I fill up my tank 2 times, maybe 2.5 times. Cost me $120 just to get down there. And if I were to fly the entire family, it would be $2,000. So... we opt out for flying. And we have no public transit, so there's no trains or anything. LOL, a 4.5 hour drive is nothing to an American. That's a morning. Yeah, for real. Now you see why our vehicles are so big. We practically live in them. That's hilarious. I drove from Amarillo, Texas to Atlanta, GA. I saw the sunset behind me and rise in front of me, and I still had not arrived in Atlanta. That's hilarious. All right, let's go to the next one.
Do you know why speed limits in America are so low compared to Europe? That was the first thing I noticed the moment I moved to America. They have all these brand new cars with active safety controls and shit. The speed limits tend to be, on average, 55 to 60 miles an hour. And yes, I know that you drive 80 miles an hour, but technically the speed limit is
70.
On the other hand, you come to Italy, where the average car is 50 years old, and we literally drive shit boxes on 4 wheels 100 miles an hour, legally. 100 is maybe too much. It's 140 kilometers an hour. It's 85, 90 miles an hour. I always ask myself why. The moment I started driving in America, I realized why. The level you need to pass the driving exam is baby proof. If you do not pass a driving exam in America, either you're probably in a state that is not your normal state in terms of what you drank or did, or you should seriously ask yourself some questions. Is that easy to get a driver's license in America? I remember that when I pulled at the driving test, the lady, which was a young lady, saw me changing gears with my hand because my car is a manual, literally drove 100 yards and she gave me the driver's license. Didn't even know what I was doing. Yeah, I know, you're pro, here's a driver's license. It was crazy. That's when I got scared. That's why even with such low speed limits, you see crazy accidents in America. On the other hand, in Italy, first of all, the driver's license can cost up to 1 to 2 grand because you need to take lessons, have you drive on different, let's say, occasions and types of road and wet and dry roads and shit. The written test is actually difficult. I did not pass it on the first trial. My sister didn't pass it on the first trial. My mother didn't pass it on the first trial. The reason why Germans do not have speed limits, because a driver's license costs 3 grand. Because the amount of test drives and teachings they do is crazy. Those people are actual drivers.
I would prefer to have our driving tests cost $3,000 and be way more intricate with the knowledge that you have to have if that meant that I got to drive 100 miles an hour on the road and not get pulled over and get a ticket, because that would make everything so much better. I don't know why we don't do this in the States. Why don't we make the driving more strict? Blows my mind. There's a lot of people who just don't even have licenses that just drive. And the craziest thing is that in a lot of states, probably not mine, but many states like California or New York, if a cop pulls over someone driving, like an immigrant or something that doesn't have a license, they'll just like write them a ticket and like just let them keep driving away. They won't like impound the car unless they find other stuff, like they've committed some other type of crime. But a lot of the times they just let them keep going and just keep driving, like take off with the car. I'm like, can we put some restrictions here? There's a huge thing going on in the States right now with a semi-trucker. You guys might have seen it. It was pretty viral, like pulled out and then a car was coming. All 3 people died. It was just horrible. But the guy basically got handed like a trucker's license from California and didn't know anything. It's out of control. This is actually making me upset now. Oh, the things you guys do that you do so much better than us. Tell me about it. Here in Norway, driving license cost fortune. Sorry, that came out a little weird. Though I understand your point and fundamentally agree with it, as a Swede, I wouldn't use Italy as the prime European example of safe drivers. Ooh, someone's calling them out. My son just got in a car in America and didn't move. The examiner just handed him his license, found out that he had a British driving license. That's kind of crazy. I wonder if it's true. Sometimes I never know what to read on the internet, you know? What's true, what's real, what's not. I feel like people just make stuff up. When I drove on some motorways in America, the condition of the roads were awful. Yes, a lot of cities can have really bad roads. But then again, some places have like really, really nice roads. I've heard both arguments from people who have visited here from other countries. Some say that the roads are amazing. Some say that they're shite. I just learned in Eastern Europe. That explains it, I suppose. Okay, I don't know what that means. All right, let's check out one more.
Why is it as soon as Americans turn 16, they can automatically drive? Next day, they're just whipping it. Like, no driving test, no nothing. They're just on the roads. I've never seen or heard of any American driving tests. Like, in the UK, it's such a long process. You have to get a provisional, then you have to do theory tests, then you have to do driving lessons, then you actually have to find a test free to book. Like, what are driving tests like in America? Are they harder or are they easier? Like, because it feels like they've got a much quicker process, because obviously they have driving tests. I feel like we need to adopt the American driving test process, because for some reason it's so much quicker. Like, there's basically like...
Oh, he wants it.
I see it on here all the time, Americans driving to school. Like, that in the UK here is basically unheard of. Like, there's probably only a handful of people in the year that can drive. I feel like we need to adopt their system, because it's clearly working.
This just seems like a kid that wants to be able to drive and drive to school. We do have a lot of tests, very similar. It's not that much different. I mean, you have to go through classes. You have to get a permit, which I'm guessing is like the provisional license that you guys get there. I don't know. It's the first time I'm seeing this. So I think your guys' test is just way more intense. Mine was maybe like 20 to 50 questions, I want to say. I don't know. Definitely not like in the hundreds of questions. All right, because they learn in automatic and their roads are dead straight. Yeah, that's true. Most cars are automatic. You just straight line. God, this is gonna be good. What does this say? You just straight lying for no reason. Why I hate when people do like acronyms for words that don't need acronyms. Took me a whole year to get my license. I had to do driver's ed, then take my written, take lessons, hold a permit for 6 months, then take the driving test. Even then, I still have a minor's license and have restrictions. The fuck you Tom about JS driving at 16. Dude, people need to learn how to type. Guy has a little bit of a point though. We do have to do quite a bit. It's just not as crazy as yours. No, we do not need to adopt the American driving test. Accidents would increase so much. Yeah, I bet you guys don't do it. Keep what you guys have. Sir, we have to do 2 weeks of driving school, and some states have multiple steps to getting a license, and we have to take a test, multiple of them actually. Yeah, we do. We have to do tests and stuff. All right, I just want to hit this last one. I got to
be like, oh, but Americans aren't well traveled. They can't point out where Switzerland is on a map.
Yeah, so recently I went to New Zealand for a couple of months, and every night I'd be in some hostel with a bunch of Europeans sitting around a table, and they'd always kind of chuckle when I told them that I'd only been to 4 countries. But I had to explain to them, look, I'm from Maryland. I've spent several summers working in Yellowstone National Park, and I had to show them the distance. So this up here is where I live in Maryland, and I would drive across to Yellowstone National Park, and you'll see I'm not even close to the West Coast.
It's a good drive.
It's about 2,100 miles, or 3,400 kilometers, if you're into that. The people sitting at the table were always pretty shocked to realize that it would actually been a shorter distance for me to drive from London, England, to Athens, Greece, than it is from Maryland to Yellowstone. And keep in mind, I've done that drive 4 times. So just because I haven't been to a lot of countries does not mean I'm not well traveled.
Heard that, man. Yeah, I've been all over the US, just not many other countries. I think I'm the exact same as him. I think I've been to 4 countries, maybe 3. Mexico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica. I think that's it. Let's be real. Each state is like its own country. Yeah, they kind of are. They have no concept of how large the USA is. They think a 45-minute drive is too far to see family members or close friends on a semi-regular basis. Yeah, I mean, just to go to my brother's house, who lives in the same town as me, it's a 20-minute drive. Driving 3 hours in Europe and you'll cross several countries. Driving 3 hours in Houston and you're still in Houston. All right, that's pretty funny. All right, so I think America needs to adopt the EU driving test system because I'm honestly just fed up and I want to drive extremely fast or have the ability to. And maybe you would just get rid of all the crappy drivers and all the accidents. That's one of the biggest things of when I'm driving. Like, I'm never nervous that I'm going to get in a car accident because I'm doing something wrong. I'm just always afraid of some a-hole that's going to come down the street and run a red light and smash into me. And yeah, so it's, I don't know. I don't think about it too much, but it is kind of annoying. So you guys have it better. Don't take the American driving system. All right, with that, I'm gonna head out of here. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.